Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. A lot of new people today. Wow. How many of you are new to our events? Okay, welcome. How many of you are out of state or out of Michigan? Okay, great. All right, well, this is the first time Micheila and I are doing a joint event. And of course, the first time Barb did her event. And did you guys enjoy that? Yeah. So we're trying something a little bit different today. We don't really know what that is yet, but actually I've had a sense for a while that we would do some sort of a joint activation event. So this is going to be. So how many of you have been to my energy transfer events so far? Okay, great. Well, this is going to be probably on a little step up from there. So in terms of intensity, so if you're sticking around, I should probably give them a disclaimer, huh? So chances are that this is going to be at a higher level of growth than what you're used to at the energy transfer. So we'll have that same energy transfer presence, but also combined with what Micheila is going to be doing.
I can speak to that a little bit maybe because when we talked about doing a joint event, and of course we knew there was going to have to be a point where he would do his energy transfer. And I often do activations and healings, those of you who are familiar with my work. And Ethan is working at removing karma and density from the emotional body or from the energy body. And a lot of what my guides are focused on is very similar yet different because we have all these imprints that we're working with, and these imprints are often beliefs, core beliefs that we have, or teachings, religious teachings, things that society has placed upon us that hold us back from really being in our fifth dimensional energy. And so many of you might be familiar with the fact that Ethan just started, didn't just start, several months ago, a more collective energy transfer.
A year ago.
Remote. Has it been a year?
September.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so a year ago he started doing this, and it's aimed at the collective. And so what I've noticed in my channeling, and especially when I participated with those sessions, is that some of the collective karmic density is what he's pulling up to the surface. So think wars, right? Think catastrophic events. And we've all been through these at one time or another because we've been a part of this whole, universe, plane of reality. And so that's the stuff that's been coming to the surface. And I believe that's what we're going to be focused on today. So my guides talk a lot about these containers that we have. We have a soul container, which we're really used to working in. And a lot of times when you come to see Ethan's energy transfer, you're focused in that soul container. We're throwing stuff at him that, from relationships and our work and all this stuff, healing, physical stuff. But we're raising the bar today on the way we're going to work in this energy transfer. And that's a collective energy. So that middle ground is almost like the higher self or our planetary essence. It's our collective essence. So think about when we do this process today, things on the planet, right? Things that we're going through right now that we're going to come together to really try to bring up to the surface and resolve, not just for everyone in this room, but beyond this room. So you'll still get the benefit of that soul container, okay? Because his energy transfer is always going to be working at that level. But our intention is going to raise the bar today to actually work in that higher self planetary container where we have some of these dense cords from past timelines.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah.
For those of you who are new, I'll just give them a little background about our organization. So we are the Flower of Life, and we do events here locally. We have for quite a few years, and we're sort of an international organization, although we have our base here. And we put on quite a few events that are monthly here locally, like what we're doing today. But then we also have our International Expo, which takes place in Detroit. And our next one is this November 10th through 12th in downtown Detroit. And that's 3 days of very high consciousness experiences. Micheila will be there. Barb's doing her workshop there as well. And I'll be doing energy transfers every day of the event as well. But then we have a lot of very interesting topics, everything from past life experiences to extraterrestrial contact to health, longevity topics, quite a few things. So basically, It's a very high vibrational event. Certainly you'll learn a lot of things, but the most common thing that we hear, the feedback we hear from people who attend, is that it changes their life, because it's a vibrational shift you'll experience from being there in that kind of intense energy for several days. And the kind of people who attend those types of events are people of a very, very high consciousness, and there are people coming from all over the world, all walks of life, to attend this event. So if you'd like to join us for that, we still have tickets for sale for that. We also have a TV show. Any of you watch the show? Okay, great. And on that show, and it's all the episodes are archived on YouTube. So if you are interested in continuing your education into what's happening behind the scenes in the world, that would be a great way to do that. If you just search for Awaken Empowered TV, those shows will come up. We're planning a kids' school in the long run, and our next phase of that is a summer retreat for kids next summer, where we're teaching them things like telekinesis and telepathy and channeling and things of that nature. So it should be really cool, and some of the teachers that are coming out to teach that are very well known in various movements in these different fields of work. So join us for any of that. Anyone have any questions about anything as far as our organization goes, or anything? Okay. Well, we're going to just talk for a little while, but we are going to take some questions for Micheila to channel on not for an extended period of time this time, because we're doing a joint event. But if you do have questions, do we put the cards somewhere?
Yes, my cards and pens are back by the door over there, okay. So we could pass those around. And while we're talking, if you guys want to get your questions for the channeling written down, and we'll have those passed here to the front. So when that takes place, Ethan will have them in hand. He's usually on the other side walking around to gather. So we'll get that out of the way.
So we probably won't be able to fit them all in today, since there are quite a few of you here today, but we'll try to get as many as we can. And then we can always, we'll be back here next month. So, or join us at the expo, and we can do it there as well. Yeah.
Can you virtually channel anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was a personal person?
Yeah, I mean, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, well, the channeling that I do is a higher vibration than bringing in maybe souls who have passed. And that's something that we could do in more of a private session. But the guides, and I'm a very open channel, so I can channel in a variety of different beings, but it's typically master teachers, archangels who work with the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, a variety of different forms of collective consciousness. Okay. But private sessions, for sure. I mean, if there's someone in particular that you need a message from. I don't consider myself to be a medium per se, where I'm working with, those types of souls who have passed on. I have the ability to do it, and I can. I don't focus my work in that area. But if there's a specific reason that there's something holding on that we need to understand about, we can definitely tune into that information. Yeah.
For those of you who are filling out questions for today, keep them universal, because we're recording this and it will be broadcast on a network in the UK, and then it goes out on our YouTube channel. So we only take questions that everybody can relate to, since a lot of people will be... Yeah, but in private sessions, Micheila can channel for you whatever you need, yeah.
And if there's something that you're struggling with that you think others are struggling with as well, we can word it in a certain way where the guides can come in and answer how to deal with a certain situation to help you. That would probably help a lot of other people out there as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So normally we do these events separately. Ordinarily, up until now, we have done 2-hour events where Micheila does 2 hours with channeling, and she does activations, and then I do the energy transfer, and Barb helps me with that. Now, Barb's also going to help with this a little bit, even though she may not know that yet. So one thing I'd like to have her do is kind of assess the room in terms of what everybody's energy field is when we start. So the energy transfer... For those of you who are familiar, we don't have a lot of time to get in depth into it. There are lots of videos online, and we record these events and post them. So if you're interested in really delving more deeply into it, then there's a lot of content online that you can watch to understand what's taking place here. So I'm going to just try to give you a really quick explanation of what that is. So I came into this life with an intention to assist in the awakening of consciousness in a very specific way. And because of that, my physical body was prepared to do a certain kind of energy work. So I don't consider myself a healer in the sense that a lot of people would call themselves healers. I'm here specifically to raise consciousness and to remove the karmic density that individuals are carrying with them and from the collective consciousness. So whereas a lot of healers are concerned about protecting their body or protecting their energy field when they're doing healing work because they're very sensitive, and some of you, I'm sure, are very sensitive to energies and people in your environment and so on. I have the opposite kind of situation where I can intentionally take on the negative density or dense energy from other people without any adverse effect to me, and then they don't carry it with them. So this has been going on since I was born without my awareness. And in the last several years, because of meeting Barb and Micheila and a lot of other amazing people who are around me these days, I've been able to understand that this has been going on since birth. Now, Barb's looked at pictures of me as a child and seen that my energy field is the same as it's now. So we know this is going on. And plus, I had a lot of, so I come from a very left brain intellectual background, just to be clear. I wasn't always doing this kind of thing. And so the last several years that I stepped into this world was a little bit challenging for me intellectually because I couldn't rationalize what I was doing. But at the same time, a lot of very unusual things that happened in my life that I never could explain, and I just put them on the shelf as they happened. And now doing this intentionally, I can look back over those experiences and it makes sense why those things occurred. So what was going on throughout my life was this process that we're going to do here today with intention. My physical body was being used for that purpose for all of the people around me all throughout my life without my conscious awareness of it, because I came into this life with an agreement for a specific collective consciousness. It's a 13th dimensional consciousness to use this body to facilitate this for those around me. But I didn't have the awareness of it until recently. So now I do this on purpose in front of groups of people. And there are individuals around the world who participate remotely. And if you watch any of the YouTube videos of our events that we do here, you'll see the comments on there. People are actually using the videos to facilitate the same process, and they're having the same kind of results. So this is not limited by space or time. This collective consciousness is present everywhere, and they're fully conscious of everyone's intention. So even in a YouTube video where I could be doing something else and not even paying attention, someone else somewhere else can facilitate this process on their own, and this collective consciousness facilitates it through this body. So I've asked them in channeling with Micheila, why do they need me? Why can't they just do it themselves? And one thing that I found over the years, and I work with a lot of very brilliant people like Micheila and Barb and others, and one thing that I've come to understand is that there are many multidimensional consciousnesses that are assisting us in this time, and they are not able to bring their vibration to a density level where they can operate here at the fullness of their potential. So in order to help us with their consciousness, their vibration, they require things of a more dense nature. So that's why human beings such as myself and others have to be in physical bodies in this dimension, but have to also have a multidimensional aspect of them prepared so that they can interface with them as well. So this is why I have to be here in order to allow them to facilitate this energy through this physical body as a vessel. So this is why I do this. And so part of what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you at a certain point when we do this process to send your karmic density to me. You can simply hold the intention. By your being here, I'm going to assume you have that intention. I will take you through some process if you want to help you to focus. But simply by being here and having that intention, the process will happen. And Barb can actually see it. Over the years we've been doing this, she can actually see this dark energy coming from all of you. And as Micheila said, starting September of a year ago, I started doing this on a collective consciousness level so the whole Earth consciousness, billions of people, as an experiment. I mean, for me, all of this is experimental because I don't really know what is possible and what I am capable of doing. So we did the first event, and Barb was there, and to observe what was happening to my energy field. And so we are able to see that the effect is also happening collectively, and we've been doing this every month since then. So you don't have to worry that anything adverse is going to happen to me. Obviously, people are doing this all throughout the day and night without my awareness, and there's been no effect. And if there was, Barb could see it in my energy field. So this physical body and the energy field around it has been prepared in order to accept this karmic density. So you may refer to that as dense energy or karma, or in the biblical sense, sins, which was basically karma or karmic density. All of that is essentially different ways of describing the same thing, which is a dense vibration of energy you're carrying in your energy body that's inhibiting your fullest potential. So by removing that, you're going to become more aware of your true self, and spiritual gifts and things like that will open up in you, and you'll just live a happier, better life. We're also going to be sending energy to you to raise your vibration and consciousness, and that will also, in that energy that comes from this collective consciousness is also information that can't be understood intellectually. It's just like when Micheila channels, she receives packets of energy, and her mind disassembles that energy in a sense into words. But there's also more coming through than just the words. So in a similar way, the energy from the energy transfer contains information that each of you will start to decipher over time, and it will help you to redirect the course of your life in a more appropriate way for you. So that's a little bit about that, and I'm going to let Micheila talk about what she's doing. But anyone have any questions about that so far? Yeah.
What about if it is somebody else's? Like we are in this because of our son.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we direct those things to you?
Well, you can, and a lot of people ask this question: can I include my family member or relative, friends, without them knowing? And well, you can hold that intention for that person to include his karmic density in this experience, and it will. Most of the time, people do that. They notice an effect. I can't remember. Somebody shared a story recently, but yeah. So you can just hold that in your intention. See, there are a lot of people have an issue with free will, and what about the free will of the other person? But the thing is, free will, if you are, let's say, for example, wherever I go, this energy is present. I don't consciously will it on anybody. But anybody who is in my space has chosen by their free will to be there. So if they have chosen to be there by their unconscious intention, their free will has already been exercised. By this person being your son and you intending to include him, that free will has already been exercised because he chose to be your son. So free will is a little bit more complicated than most people understand it to be. And at this point, we are at a point in the awakening of the collective consciousness where the Earth's consciousness is growing and is accelerating, and our individual free will is not so much of a factor as the global collective moving forward. So one of us can't really prevent that from happening. So what I'm doing now is not so much, you don't have to worry about that issue so much. So you can include him if you'd like, and any of you want to include your family members or friends, you can do that. And it is very effective that way too. And you'll find a lot of times pets behave differently. I've had a lot of people tell me their pets start acting, more friendly, or they are, there was a story that illustrates this really well. Somebody from New York some years ago contacted me because his girlfriend was severely ill at the time, and I said, well, why don't I just put her on my energy transfer program where I do this several times a month for people, And he messaged me back, and he says, does this have an effect on animals in the environment? And he said what was happening was they had these two dogs that are always fighting. And from the first time that I did the energy transfer, the dogs just were, they just were hanging out and completely socializing and playing with each other and sleeping together. And so they had completely changed their behavior. So it will affect the environment of the individuals that are there as well. So, yeah.
I'm going to add to that too, the family dynamic, it's a soul contract, right? So when there's a soul contract, usually there's some karma playing out somewhere along the line. So when you're offering up that karma or that density in this process, it has to change the contract because everyone who's in it has a play in what's going on. So even if just one person in that soul contract raises their consciousness to make a different decision or bring in some different information, then that whole energy has to change. And that's why a lot of times I think the energy transfer will affect family members, right? Friends, relationships. He always gives us disclaimer about relationships because you're raising your vibration. And that's got to affect all of your contracts. All of those soul contracts you have going on become affected by that raise in vibration.
Yeah. And this is going to change your energy field dramatically, which means you're going to leave here very dramatically altered vibration, multidimensionally. So as you go out into the world, everybody who's around you is going to be affected by who you now are. We all are all the time anyway. So there's no free will when everybody's energy field is affecting everybody else's energy field without your conscious awareness. You're not intending to do that, but so if you're a highly evolved being with a very large energy field and you go into a room, well, whether you intend it or not, everybody in that room is raising in consciousness. You didn't ask them permission to walk in the room, but it's happening anyway. So each of you are impacting everybody else in your space all the time.
Yet they have a choice in how to respond. So there is free will. There's always free will, right? I mean, when our energy field affects other people, we have a choice in how we respond. So free will is always operating.
Yes,
I'm challenging that. I'm challenging your statement.
It's in the how you respond. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's in the how you respond. But it's not in the what. It's in the how.
Right.
Is what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Which I would agree with. Yeah. So it's not really a challenge, but it's a clarification. I mean, it's the things in your life that are going to happen, but your reaction to those things is always up to you. There was a woman I had on my show a while back, and she was essentially she died in a explosion in Iraq, and she went into this in-between place where she and these other spirit guides were choosing what kind of life she was going to live because they told her it wasn't time for you to die yet, so they were going to send her back. And so in this in-between place, they were looking through all these scenarios of what would happen if she had brain damage, what kind of life would she have, what would happen if she, so because she was going to come back with injuries, but she got to choose what injuries she would have. And so they essentially were watching on sort of like a TV screen what her future lives would be like based on the different kinds of injuries that she could potentially come back with. And so it was, she described it as just very playful, and they were laughing because in some of these scenarios she was so debilitated that it was kind of hilarious to them in that scenario, which we wouldn't think that, in this dimensional reality. But nonetheless, she got to choose which way she would return, and then she returned back into this reality to experience that particular outcome. But that particular outcome was already decided in the other dimension. So there was no free will when she got here what kind of injury she was going to have. That was already decided. In the same way as, well, you exercise a lot of your free will before you incarnated here so that you could experience a certain kind of life, so you could meet certain people and so on. Although it's a little complicated because timelines can shift, right? But that's maybe outside the realm of what we can explain in depth here today. But basically, how she reacted to those experiences determined the free will of how she experienced this life, is what you're saying, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any questions?
What do you experience when you do this?
Well, first of all, this is happening all the time because I have no idea when people are using my YouTube videos to do this. And then I do have an advanced program where some people actually sign up at certain times of day to facilitate this. So at those times, I know it's happening. But at any given time, it's all throughout the day. I don't, when we do it here with intention, and you're all sending this density to me, and Barb will be able to share with you what she sees when that happens. I actually nowadays only feel a slight sensation in my third eye, which tells me that you're doing it. But it isn't uncomfortable, and I have no after effects. I go home and live a normal life, just like anybody else. The first several times that I became conscious of being able to do this was many years ago. And at that time, there was a little bit more, I don't want to say discomfort, but awareness, I guess. And I think it was just, in hindsight, it was just my first sort of education in what I was doing to illustrate to me what was happening. Because at the time, I had no awareness that this was going on. So, but now, throughout the day, I don't feel, but the moment I ask you all to send me your density, some of you jump the gun and actually send it a second before I stop talking, and I can feel it the instant you start doing it. So, but it's just a slight sensation in my third eye. Now, part of the reason is because I'm at that time, especially, moving so much energy through this body to all of you, that this collective consciousness is sending, that sensation is so overpowering that I can't feel much of anything else. And in general, this body cycles a lot of energy anyway. So because of that, I think throughout the years, one thing I had a little confusion when I was much younger, and I went to different spiritual masters and healers and whatnot. I never could feel anything, and I could never understand why. But now in hindsight, it all makes sense. It's just the energy in this body just tends to be a little bit higher, and because of that, it's very resistant to external influences. Now, I've been tested by dowsers and other kinds of individuals, and when this physical body is in any electromagnetic field or geopathic stress zone, it neutralizes that space. So it basically neutralizes any kind of dense, low vibrational energy just by being there. So it's not something I do on purpose. But we've had a chance with Micheila's help to channel that collective consciousness and speak with them, and there are videos online of my conversations with them to understand why I'm here, why do they need me to do this, and how does the energy transfer work, and things like that. So if you want to learn more about that, you can watch those videos. Yeah, if you've written any universal questions, we'll take them, and Micheila can channel on those. Did you say we're going to channel Muhammad today, or no? Or is that...
I think during the process we may.
During the process, okay. So did you want to just wait for that to explain who that is?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I'll let that process unfold as we do it.
Sure. We sort of just made this up, this. we usually. Oh, sorry.
We didn't make anything up.
We are pros at this.
Yeah. No. Honestly, we're up here to do a process together. Yeah. And I didn't even know if we could do the process together, so I had to channel on it because I've always known we could do it. I've always known that we can do it, but what I know and what my guides direct me to do are sometimes two different things, and I try really hard to stay in the lane of what I'm supposed to do. So I always check in before I decide to do anything like this. And what was interesting was he has a guide named Muhammad, and I've always seen this guide from the beginning when I first came to his energy transfers. And sometimes when I was just in his office, he was working, and I would notice this guide, Muhammad, hanging around. And
he's not the Muhammad.
He's not the Muhammad that you think of from the biblical Muhammad, but his name happens to be Muhammad. And I consider him to be a gatekeeper for Ethann, someone who connects to higher dimensions and brings in the right energy and, mixes all of that together, because that's what gatekeepers do. So when I connected with my guides to find out, how we could do this process and if it would be something that we could even do, surprisingly, or to my surprise, but it shouldn't have been to my surprise, that's who came in and said that he'd be working with me and we would channel this together. So I have an understanding of what the process is and that Muhammad will be a part of that, but we'll let it unfold as it takes place. So
we do know what we're doing. This is just a completely new rendition of it. And some of you have been coming to these events for a long time. We've been doing it for many years. And we did them as two separate events. And the energy transfers are very transformative. But today is going to take it up to a whole new level. So for those of you who've been coming for regularly, I'm sure it's going to be a step forward in the experience. And for those of you who are new, you may be in for an interesting experience today.
Well, for those of you who aren't familiar with me, because I know there's some in the room who haven't been to one of my events before, I'm an intuitive channel, and what that means is I'm channeling spirits through me. So I open myself up and my consciousness steps outside. I allow guides, teachers, masters, beings to step in and give us a general message, because we are here functioning as a collective consciousness, as a one collective. What that means is all of your intentions are to be met in this transmission, and we film today. So this goes out on YouTube, and this message is not just for everyone here, but you're helping me to facilitate a message for everyone out there as well. So I appreciate the fact that you're here to do that. And we usually get a general message first. So we usually get a short download of what's most important that we need to know that's happening here on the planet. And if you guys have been following my material, they usually build on each other. They talk about what's happening on the planet and how we're transitioning through those planetary alignments and shifts and things we need to know. So you can always go back if you're not familiar with my work and go onto the Awaken Empowered Expo YouTube channel or my own YouTube channel. And all of those videos are there for your enjoyment, free. And it'll help you assimilate where we are today. We also take donations. We're here from the Flower of Life Center for Human Evolution, and all of the money that you donate today, and even if you can't donate, that is just fine. What you do provide helps us to cover this venue, as well as all the other projects that we're working on that Ethann talked about earlier. So thank you if you can do that. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And this is an energetic transmission, so it's not just about the words. Those of you who are new to channeling or new to these concepts, if you're not understanding what the guides are saying, do not worry. In the same way that you're going to receive energy from the energy transfer that Ethann is going to do, and I'm going to facilitate as well. All of that information is in light. It's light encoded, and it's coming through the words, so you receive everything that you need perfectly. Okay. All right, we're going to be speaking with the council today. We have the Council of Light. As always, we are pleased to be a part of this transmission, and we open this space for you and for all to become one in this energy. There are aspects of your reality that we come to clarify today, especially as your planet is choosing a new dimensional reality that is beginning to now set the stage for aspects of your societal programs to begin to change. We come to alert you today to what those changes are, as well as the way in which you have a vital input as to the manifestation of these changes. We are, in essence, within this space. So as we are communicating with you, it is not always possible for humanity to grasp onto these vibrational concepts as light consciousness or to vision into them as we can from our dimension. But nonetheless, we are here in this space with you in this time. And in the same way that we have entered this space, there are many dimensional beings and races that have also entered your space. The planet Earth has shifted into a new reality, and that reality holds a specific speed of vibration. That speed of vibration has recently been raised. Now, this has been a progression through time. There have been planetary alignments that have assisted in this vibrational shift. And there have also been aspects of your consciousness that have caused this shift to move in a faster speed. You find yourself in a new dimensional reality, and that dimensional reality is holding a 5-strand DNA. That 5-strand DNA makes you far more sensitive to your dimensional reality, such that in the same way that you find you are in this space with other humans, you are also in this space with other dimensional beings. These beings are here to support you. Many of them hold aspects of technologies and healing, we'll call them teachings that are here to come to your planet within their reality. And this is timeline information. Timelines are just experiences that are brought forth through the relationship of energy. So imagine higher dimensional beings being in this space with all of their timeline energy, all of their experiences, everything that they have learned, everything that they have done, transitioned through, and you energetically interacting with that. There was a conversation that took place earlier that involved the exchange through the aura. Human beings are exchanging information as they step into each other's aura. It's our intention to help you to understand that your aura is now interacting beyond just the human structure. It always has, but it is far more sensitive to interpreting that information. So many of you have asked, how is it that higher dimensional beings are assisting this ascension timeline here on Earth? It is vibrational in the way we are intersecting with you, and you are interpreting the energy of those interactions. And we'll give you an example of how this works. You may be now at a point in your fifth dimensional reality where your extrasensory gifts are more heightened. And those extrasensory gifts are leading you to information, messages perhaps from spirit, or perhaps you've noticed that your inner technology is offering a new type of healing, whatever that may be. In that observation of your outer communication or your inner technology, understand that you are activating new timelines. This is how these realizations take place. It is almost as if you have received information from elsewhere. But what you've actually done is you've matched vibrational timelines that have been offered to you in the intersection of other beings. We speak oftentimes of portals being open on your planet and a variety of beings now here able to assist. The reason those portals are open is because it was through your human intention that they be opened. And now that they are, and many beings are here in non-physical form, you're interacting with them and raising your consciousness through the magnetic attraction of their timeline information. This timeline information is often what you have done in other vibrational timelines, reigniting itself within you. We speak oftentimes also of history and the way history is erupting here on this planet for your transition and for you to walk through in a new consciousness. The purpose of this is so that future beings can also be offered a new timeline. You see, many of you are very concerned about future generations and the way this planet has been harmed and what is being handed down through the lineage of many beings that have not been in their awakened consciousness. What we can tell you is the way in which you accept your extrasensory gifts and the information coming in from these multidimensional timelines that you're intersecting with has everything to do with the history that you leave behind and the way that history will also be intersected. It is essentially how technologies continue to expand and ideas continue to expand and creation continues to take place. So we believe that in this moment, the fifth dimensional consciousness on your planet and the beings that are holding that fifth dimensional consciousness are causing an evolution. That evolution is not just in the hands of humanity. It is being assisted by many who are here, walking right along with you. And we ask you to feel the hands of those beings around you now, to feel the support that they have given you and will continue to give you on this journey. And we're very pleased to take questions.
First question, what do the different blood types mean? Do they represent the seedings of humanity?
Pleiadians come in to answer this question. We are the Pleiadians, and we are a ninth dimensional consciousness. There are many blood types on your planet, and we consider these blood types to be vibrational. because each different blood type is sourced from an energy within the DNA. Now, many of you have been led to believe that this DNA is physical, and it comes from your lineage of human families passed down to you as you were born from the womb. But although this is a part of what makes up this bloodline or this heritage that you have, this vibrational information, you have also been lent far more information within the DNA than you are using. So we've talked much about the way in which the 12-strand DNA operates. There is a carbon-based or a physical strand of DNA, and there is a crystalline double of that strand of DNA that is activating your multidimensional energy. We find that the blood types have much to do with lineage beyond this human plane, meaning that there are different races that, yes, have seeded here and lent their divine genome to your DNA structure. But also, it is a variation on how you're able to use your crystalline energy and direct it. So think of these blood types as almost being segmented into different aspects of human reality. And those aspects of human reality being based on multidimensional history. Not only what you have within your DNA, but the way you're able to use and function within that DNA and the dimension that you're holding. So blood type is less of a representative of physical and more of a representative energy that you hold within that's coded within your DNA.
This question came in remotely. Hello, I wonder if you know any information about who made the Bosnian Pyramids, and are they in fact pyramids, and are there 5 there?
This is the council. The council comes in to answer this question. What you consider pyramids in Bosnia are actually tunnels that were meant to connect energetic portals. These energetic portals have a relationship to multidimensional beings and the way that they are coming through your planet to access the grid lines. You see, these underground tunnels, they hold a vibration due to the elements that have been combined there. There are a variety of different elements that are natural to your earth that flow through these areas. And there were directives from multidimensional beings to bring in extra elemental energies to amplify the natural resources that were there. These tunnels underneath the ground were used for not necessarily for the individual soul or the healing of the individual soul, but for healing of collective consciousness. And we oftentimes feel that healing is physical, and it's our intention to help you to understand that in the times that these tunnels were formed, these portals that were open were primed or prepared for collective vibrational healing that was more emotionally based. The reason for this is that the imprints that you hold within your structure are timed to different collective events. And to make this simple for you to understand, many of you understand karma in your singular structure and the way that karma erupts from the singular soul energy. And that karma is timed by your record to come forward that you were to have an experience. Well, there was a great time on your planet in which many ancients and many multidimensionals understood the gravity of the emotional body in a singular structure. And that was that if there were a large group of beings vibrating in fear, that a very catastrophic event could be created. And these 2 portals that are connected by these tunnels that run beneath the earth have access to a specific group of collectives that have infinite knowledge on the way the emotional structure within collective consciousness can be harmonized. So to give you an example of how this would work, the technology or the plan goes as follows. If there was a perceived notion that a catastrophic event was going to take place somewhere on your planet, and that catastrophic event had the potential to harm other beings in other dimensions, these portals could be accessed. And through a harmonic that would run through the tunnels based on the elements that were placed there, the emotional frequency of a direct form of collective consciousness that was human could be harmonized such that there would be an avoidance of that potential timeline taking place. So you've asked the question, are these pyramids? The definition of pyramids from our standpoint is a tooling or a constructing of energy to relate to planetary energies that are in motion or in movement. Many of you recognize the way in which many of your pyramids align with specific star systems. And this Bosnian structure in particular is not one of those that is meant to align with planetary energies similarly to those others that exist on your planet. It was formed specifically for the activation of these portals and using these multidimensional energies to reorganize and harmonize emotional structures within the human consciousness on your planet.
When a person gets or has a spiritual awakening and gets to their spiritual gifts, do they always have to suffer through this through a rough path, or should they not be rewarded for having those gifts in the form of a smoother, happier life?
This is Mary Magdalene stepping in. And many who contemplate their soul experience are only looking at half of what their entire human timeline involves. These awakenings of the soul, although they may be times in your human life in which struggling takes place, are often the catalyst for activities that are amplifying your human experience. The purpose is not to suffer or struggle. And I wish to explain exactly why these awakenings are experienced as struggles. There's been much discussion here today about timeline energy and history that exists within you. These events that take place that are often openings of your consciousness are coming from timelines that you have interacted with in other lives, both human and non-physical. These timelines, they hold information in such a way that is so strongly connected to your divine record that they must present themselves as aspects of choice or opportunity. Because humans typically, through time and space, have been taught to stay very stagnant in their energy. That there are boundaries they place around them, and those boundaries are limits for their own potential. And imagine yourself now in a place of transition, in an angelic space by which collective consciousness is supporting you in making a decision. You would look back on those timelines that limited you the most, that caused you the most struggle, and you would choose them knowing that there was something you were bringing to the planet to transmute within that experience. Collective energy is a bit different than where you are focused now. Collective energy is in the benefit or the love-based frequency of all things. So as you're evaluating these timelines that were the most detrimental or difficult for you in the past, you would offer them to this collective energy as an opportunity that you are a conduit of to come and resolve. So in these karmic experiences that are erupting within your divine record are all of the aspects of your divine gifts and your intentions by which to go beyond that stagnant energy, to push yourselves beyond the limits of what humanity has decided you should be, to offer up the goodness of what that collective energy represented for you. So think now to one of those most detrimental struggles in your life that brought you to awakening. And how was it that within that experience, you expanded? And in that expansion, there was a new offering. That was your intention, perhaps to be chosen by your free will to create differently. So suffering is always a choice. We know that it happens here on your planet, and it is often the difference between where source consciousness is taking you in those karmic experiences between where that source consciousness is taking you in that karmic experience and where you're perceiving in the moment. Because present moment frequencies have to come into this conversation. Many of you struggle and suffer within those timelines because you are projecting into future or looking backwards into past. And the relationship of time in these experiences has everything to do with the way you struggle or walk through them with a higher dimensional consciousness. You see, anything that arises is arising for you. It's not here to push you up against. It's here to help you walk through in order to perceive something on the other side. So within every timeline that you are karmically interpreting, there is a toolbox to be uncovered or a gift to be given.
Is the difference between angels and spirit guides that angels have never been human and spirit guides have been human?
The Pleiadians came in to answer this, actually, and they're showing me. And we are the Pleiadians. We're pleased to answer this question. We first want to say that human beings make the definition of every spiritual essence that they come across. So in defining an angel, there are many definitions you'll find on the planet, but those definitions come from your interpretation. But an angelic realm is much different than what a human being would perceive. Spirit guides are also defined by you as specific beings. What we see is that spirit guides and angelics can be one and the same. Angelics are not necessarily ones who have walked an earth experience. There are angelics who vibrate from other dimensions that hold assignments to assist humanity. There are also angelics who have walked a soul experience. Spirit guides can be multidimensional. They can be beings from other races beyond the earth, and they can also be collective forms of consciousness. Many of you have spirit guides that present themselves in singular. You may have one name, perhaps, of the spirit guide, but the essence of all vibrational energy is collective. So oftentimes your consciousness is interpreting a singular being or a singular guide when really there is a collective form of consciousness that is providing that communication to you. So from our vantage point, this definition of angelics and spirit guides wouldn't match the reality that we perceive. We believe that there are a variety of different beings that are presenting themselves as angelic in this time, and those angelics come to support humanity very similarly to the Pleiadian Collective, the Council, and many others, that you place the definition on the way that they show up in your life and the way that your consciousness can hold on to those definitions.
Is one born with clairvoyance, and what about seminars which help develop this ability? Do they work?
These are the Pleiadians, and they say that your extrasensory tools come from your multidimensional structure. So every human being in this space has the ability to be clairvoyant. It is a telepathic exchange with the universe, and it is a tool that you have built into your structure. However, not all human beings in their unique soul energy are calling forth that specific tool. You see, all tools are available to humans, and in taking a class in something like this, would you be able to access that tool? Most definitely. But the question becomes, are you most supposed to use your clairvoyance in this life as opposed to another gift that could perhaps be clairsentience or clairaudience, for example? You are all designed uniquely. Even though you have similar chakras and energy fields and come with the same toolbox that every other being has, You came here with intention. And that intention was molding and shaping your energetic tools to relate to what is within your divine record. So if you are so drawn to take a class in clairvoyance, make sure that the way in which you're drawn is of the most organic state, meaning that it is something that is exciting you, it is something that feels it is necessary for you in this life. Because some will choose these courses unbeknownst to their own intentions and end up feeling very disconnected because it is not the best tool for their unique structure. So the question that you're asking is, can those extrasensory tools be developed through teaching on your planet? And we believe that they can, to the degree that your consciousness and divine will is aligned. But there are specific energetic tools that exist for all beings that your unique structure has called upon in this life. And these are the ones that you will always be more easily adept in, and that will most prominently call your attention forward.
Twin flames is a concept that seems to be relatively new in the spiritual arena. Can a person use their free will to not get caught up with this energy and not work toward creating a relationship with their twin flame if they believe they have met them? And can you also explain, before you answer that question, what your perception of a twin flame is?
Yes, I'm working with Archangel Gabriel and the Council because we have two different variations on this question coming in. So Archangel Gabriel is pleased to enter this transmission and wants to explain the concept of twin flames. Those on your planet who are operating as twin flames are ones who have made a very strong soul contract through history that goes beyond this linear timeline. We're gonna talk about the difference between a twin flame and a soulmate, because we know that those terms are sometimes interchanged or confused. Twin flames hold a more multi-dimensional contract through space and time. What that means is it goes beyond the earth plane and it goes beyond karma. Many twin flames who are reunited in this life have karma together through those multidimensional experiences, yet their focus is not on the karma. Their focus is on the agreement that they've made in order to assist humanity. What we believe is that as your planet has come to a new vibrational speed, more human beings are connecting with these twin flames because they are operating in their divine record. Twin flames exist in the divine record energy. That is what you came to offer humanity and your creative energy combined. They come to support the tools that you have within, and they often complement those tools in some very direct way. That does not mean that twin flame energies are always easy. Because they are multidimensional, they often come with more multidimensional karma than planetary karma. This can be very difficult to understand. It can cause relationships to move very quickly. There's often a very high rate of telepathy or telepathic exchange between those two beings, and they can be very extra sensitive in the way that they pick up on emotion. Now, soulmates are very similar in this, but we consider soulmates to be more of a planetary energy, especially anchored in karma. Soulmates can go beyond the what we would call the interpretation of the divine record, because they're often family members. They're often, yes, romantic relationships. They can be friendships to you. They can be people you meet in passing. But soulmates often are, consider them to be the reflective mirror of what within you needs to grow and change at the soul level. So if we were going to put this into, and the council steps in because they want to talk about free will and containers, if we were to put this into the aspect of the soul container versus the higher self and the oversoul, the twin flame energy is more of an oversoul energy. It's someone that you've been with through time and space throughout multiple dimensional experiences that's here to help you to create something on the earth. The soulmate energy is activated in the soul container, which is often the way in which you're expanding your own human experience. Now, free will came into this question, and the council wants to speak to free will. As human beings, you have chosen a structure that operates through universal law on free will. Free will is always operative in any agreement. So you can have a twin flame that comes to the earth to interact with you and is magnetized to your energy. But each being in that twin flame relationship always has the free will to interact in it however they so choose. And oftentimes what we find is that the soul becomes involved because of free will. So where do you draw the line? What is a twin flame versus what is a soulmate when free will is involved? Because twin flames are always going to be activating that soul container through free will based on the decisions that are made. So to answer the question quite simply, free will is always a part of any soul agreement and twin flame interaction. And that free will becomes the overriding factor in how you choose through your human experience to play out these contracts.
Can two people who have a close relationship, for example, a son and a mother, have an effect on each other's healing? As one heals, does it help the other heal?
Yeah, this is Archangel Gabriel stepping in. And he wants to explain the way consciousness works, especially here on the planet. And for the sake of this question, we want to bring you beyond just the mother-son relationship, and then we will bring it back to that question. But here on your planet, what is taking place is that as your consciousness is raising and as you are making new decisions and awakening in that consciousness, many other beings are affected. For the purpose of this conversation, we take you back to the way in which you were discussing the auras being connected through conversation and how exchange was taking place energetically. The heart chakra is a very important tool in this. Many of you understand the way the heart chakra vibrates. It vibrates in a rhythm. And that rhythm can be exchanged telepathically and harmonized with other beings. So when you find yourself in a collective situation with a variety of beings with an open heart chakra, you can raise your consciousness based on the way that that collective is vibrating, or your consciousness may lower based on the way that vibrational speed is taking place. But nonetheless, what's happened here on the planet is that as that consciousness has raised and that vibrational speed has raised, we have seen an effect on many others. So you are always affecting your collective based on how you are vibrating. So these contracts, mother and son, father and daughter, even relationship contracts are working very similar. But we're going to default again to that free will mechanism that exists within the structure. You are offering the opportunity for healing, but there is always the free will to choose that opportunity. Think of the difference between non-physical and physical, vibrational energy and physical energy. Physical energy is your experience in human form. Non-physical energy is the information around that experience. So this question of the mother and daughter, or mother and son, the energy, the non-physical energy to heal and that opportunity is present. But free will choose how to operate in that energy and manifest a physical experience. So the physical experience may not equal the non-physical energy or the opportunity that is there to receive and to integrate. The singular structure will always have that opportunity through free will to choose the consciousness that it is accepting. When many of you walk out this door today beyond this energetic transmission, you will do the same. There are no automatic adjustments. There are frequencies that are offered, and your consciousness is choosing those frequencies to integrate into your physical lives. Okay, so we're going to do the energy transfer the same way Ethann would do it normally. So I'm going to let him explain that because there's going to be an exchange, and it's like the whole thing just fits together. So we've been talking about collective energy and singular energy and free will and the heart chakra, right? And we have all these imprints that exist within us, right? So we're seeing a lot happen on the planet right now that's coming from our past. And we get to walk through it and choose the way we operate through our consciousness, and that is what changes it. But what happens sometimes is when we walk through these experiences that are karmic, we create density. Okay, so the guides really want everyone in the room to understand the difference between karma and density. Okay, karma is the information. It's the information that's within the planet. It's the information that's within us. It's timed, right? So we have these planets that revolve around us. We have karma erupt. Mother Gaia, living, breathing being. She has planets that revolved around her. Stuff's erupted. The density is when we walk through the experience and we struggle, or we have this perception that it's stagnant, we can't heal it, we don't have the resources we need, we don't have the tools we need, we lose faith, right? When that happens, we create density, which is this thick material that we carry forward, right? And so what's happening now on the planet is that all this density we're creating around these planetary events and all this fear that we have around these planetary events, what happens? It gets recycled back into the soul, right? So we see stuff happening on the planet that we're reacting to and we're walking through. We accumulate density and then it affects our singular experience, right? So many of us right now can be walking experiences in our singular reality that can feel really heavy and dense because of what's going on the planet, right? So we're redirecting this today, okay? And the way we're redirecting this is we're really working in that density and that karma that's collective, that's weighing you guys down, that's causing things to happen that you're creating in your own singular experience, right? And we don't think that sometimes. We think, well, you know, what's happening out there is out there, what's happening here is here, but that veil is so thin now that it's all the same. You know, we've really stepped into a time now where what's happening on the planet collectively is so what I'll say is it's integrating so fast with our experience because we're becoming more collective, right? So becoming more collective, there's a match, you know, but we don't know how to operate with that stuff yet because we're so focused in creating in singular. So what he does is so beneficial to this, and we're going to bring in the Pleiadians to assist us today, and they're going to amp up the energy, and they're going to be, while you're accepting the karma and the density as people are throwing it at you, and this does not have to be collective, but it can be if you want. So if there's something going on right now in your life that you feel heavy, dense, that can be the same as what's going on the planet. So you get to choose what you're going to throw at him. Matters not. But what the Pleiadians are going to be activating is the heart chakra, right? In the way that we pull that information in and telepathically understand it and operate in it. And they're going to also be working within the DNA. So consider this like a DNA activation as well. That's my part. Your part is as usual. Okay. The karma and the density. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions? No, that came through really fast. Okay. Okay.
Barb?
The energy is, of course, the people that have been here for a long time that have come to the energy transfers. Of course, their energy is all over the place. And the other ones are lower energy. But the ones that sat in my circle, their energy is really, energized. So I'm really anticipating seeing what's going to happen when this is finished. So I really am looking forward to it. But there are different levels of the auras right now, and there still is some negative, energy, or I would say negative, heavy energy that I can see will be dissipated after the energy transfer. But I can see it's still here now, but I anticipate not seeing it in a little bit.
Okay. I'm just going to give a little bit of instruction, and then I'll let you give yours. What the Pleiadians are saying that is, in this space, there's a collective grid, okay? And that collective grid is here for your benefit. A lot of times we get really focused on the negative stuff, karma being negative and dense and heavy, but we forget that these grids hold positive timeline information for us. And that's what we're integrating right now. And that's the intention of this activation part of this, is knowing that these grids, they hold all of the things that we need to heal, to create, to source, right? So we don't have to do it ourselves. We get really stuck in, I have to do, I have to find, I need to know. That's what we're overriding today, is we're connecting to these grids that are all things. It's not just human, right? It's all things providing us and sourcing us. And then at the same time, I'll let you go in and tell them how to do the exchange.
Mohammed would like to do a little introduction.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we'll do that. I'll bring in a message from Mohammed, and I'm just going to open eye this because I can. So when I have Mohammed here, he keeps showing me this rainbow that exists above the room, and it's a multidimensional energy. And he wants you to know that he works on behalf of Ethann, and he has a long history with his process in order to bring forward all the beings that are here to support us in this transmission. But as he's offering this light consciousness through his heart chakra, all of these beings are present in that light consciousness, okay? And he's here to support that. So he welcomes all of you here and is pleased to assist, he says.
For those who are unfamiliar, what does he look like?
Oh, Mohammed, he has a very long white beard and white hair. Long white beard. I see him almost in a white drape. Looks the same every time he comes in, just almost like this ancient man. Wise. Yeah, over here, right? Yeah. Barb and I are always on too. And I know, like right over here, like seeing him right over here. Yeah, he's always here.
He's hanging out back there with Michelle?
Yeah.
Okay, so the energy transfer process, you can't do it wrong, first of all. So if you just simply sit there with the intention to participate, that's all you really need to do. But if you want to participate a little bit more actively, then you can, and I'll give you a little bit of instruction along those lines. But I want to say some of you are energy sensitive, and you may feel something from this, whether it's vibration or temperature change or heaviness in your head. Those are all possibilities. As unique as your physical body is to the person next to you, your sensations may be unique as well. Some of you may not feel anything. It doesn't really matter. We've been doing this for years, and we know the effect is there regardless of whether you feel something or not. For a small number of you who are brand new, first time doing this, you may have a little bit more intense of experience versus if you do it more often, the sensory experience or the adjustment becomes less, meaning we're going to make a dramatic adjustment to your energy body, your multidimensional self today. Your physical body takes a little while to catch up. The density here slows down that process. So that may take hours, days, weeks for that adjustment to occur. If you've been doing this many times already, it happens a lot faster. And for those who haven't, that adjustment may cause some physical sensations, like you may be really tired when you go home for several days, need extra sleep. Some people have a heaviness in their head for several days. Others, I've had a few people over the years who couldn't sleep for several days. So all those things could happen if it's your first time. Don't worry about it if it does. It's just your physical body adjusting to the change of the vibration. So I'm going to ask you all to, in a moment here, to send your karmic density to me. And if you'd like, you can visualize that as a dark cloud leaving your body. Send it to mine. Don't worry, no harm will come to me in the process. The density, you won't be carrying it as you leave the room, and it disintegrates as it hits my energy field. So it doesn't actually affect me personally. And I'm going to be sending a white light to each of your heart centers to raise your consciousness, and also it will increase your energy field on a permanent basis. So the more often you come, the larger your energy field will become. Any questions about any of that before we start? Okay, so we'll play a little music just subtly in the background, and Micheila is going to be speaking through part of this as well, and doing her portion also. So there's going to be a combined blending of energy, which we've never done before with an audience of people. So it should be a very unique experience. So close your eyes, breathe comfortably, and relax. And focus your intention on sending your karmic density to me in the front of the room. And keep doing that. And if you'd like, you can visualize that as a dark cloud of energy. Send it to me. And at the same time, I'm going to be sending a white light from my heart center to all of yours. We'll be going for several minutes until we ask you to open your eyes. So just keep your eyes closed and keep facilitating that until we ask you to open your eyes. Play a little music now in the background while we do that.
can say is wow. The combination, and it just, the vibrations that I felt throughout the room was just unbelievable, and I kept seeing the different collectives popping, flashing in and out.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
They've been flashing in and out all the time. Like one of them actually went like that to me, like, okay, I see you. Everything looks so much. Everything and everyone looks lighter. It's like they took a lot of heaviness out of the room. By what you did with that, and I've never seen that before. It was very interesting to see what would happen. But everyone feels so much lighter. It's just like lifted up, lifted spirits, and lifted the feelings, and lifted their auras are stretching out, and more peace, and feeling more peace.
Well, it was an interesting process for me because I was just watching all this stuff come through, and Mary Magdalene came in first, which I didn't expect. Because this whole rainbow, it was like beings that were coming in one at a time, and Muhammad was the one that was pulling them in. But I saw Mary first, and she was working like at the soul level and tooling all of that. But then we had the Arcturians come in, and they were connecting everyone to the grids. So they were talking about those grids. So I saw the connections being made to that grid, and then at some point there were other beings that were coming in that were working on the DNA, and I actually saw them repairing DNA strands on certain people. And then the chakras at one point, I saw the chakras were being eliminated. So there was different beings were coming in to do different things. It was interesting. Yeah.
That's what I kept seeing flashing, and even one just waved at me.
Yeah. That
was really nice. That was really good.
I was warm.
Anyone have any questions or anything they want to share? Yeah, speechless.
You guys did great.
This was different than any other event that I've attended, and I've been to a few of the energy transfers. Usually what comes up is, oh my garbage, all this stuff. I have no control over it. It just goes. That didn't happen this time at all. It felt as though there was just a space being held for mass consciousness to be able to pull and draw in the negativity, and it felt like war. It just felt like that's what I got the energy of. That was what was being transmuted and shifted, and so people can understand a different perception and not really just believe what they hear about what's going on somewhere else. It's just it wasn't even the woe and the crying and I don't know if I'm explaining this right. It just wasn't the terror of war. It was the idea of that being switched and changed completely. And that was downloaded and pulled into the room. And that's what I just felt like I was holding.
Very cool.
You spoke about that recently, I thought, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We've sort of come across the same thing as far as the global events that I was doing and the impact that was having. Right.
Yeah. When he does his global events, I can usually tune in very similarly to what you did, and there have been very specific timelines that he's worked on in those events that have come up, like specific wars and things that were presented to me in that energy. So yeah, I mean, imagine us having been a part of all of that, and it's carried within us, and it's coming up now more and more to the surface, because I think as our consciousness has shifted, a lot of these past timelines, we're here as a collective to just completely obliterate that, really shifted, and it's stark right now, but it's coming up in different ways that we're seeing it on the planet. But really, I think it's just the subtle way we walk through with our consciousness has everything to do with how we realign that whole timeline. And it's not just that one thing, because it goes back into other things too. We think it's just that one war, but that one war has cords to a variety of other things. So if you can imagine this whole matrix of information that one energy is drawing from, and we walk through it differently, we change all of that stuff. It's incredible. I think we're in really incredible times.
Anyone else?
Well, it felt very powerful. I mean, it really felt, the whole room felt very powerful. I mean, I was just like in awe the whole time, as I was watching, because I usually see a whole big old dark cloud on, but it was like people were taking more responsibility for themselves this time, or, it's how it, and, like shifting their beliefs into, expansion is that's how I perceived it. And it was I was quite awestruck by it.
Well, I'll share. I thought I was trying to send some stagnant energy around my sacral chakra, creativity and the last one. So I was trying to do that, and I usually fall asleep during these things anyway. And then if you guys doing it together, I come by, waking me up, I'll definitely fall. But this time was different, and I'm not generally very sensitive, to this stuff. This time was very definitely was different. I could feel it this time. I had at one point as I was trying to send energy, I almost couldn't hang on to sending the dense energy to you. It turned turquoise on me. I don't know what turquoise means, but all of a sudden I felt like a full of turquoise come in. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's like boom, this huge body of water, like this huge ocean, just kind of just presented itself with two birds flying. And it just felt like that. Just kind of felt like a very light, expansive energy.
When I work with Mary, I almost always see water. When she does healing work, I almost always see water come in, and she works with that energy a lot with me. I don't know why, but one of the things I forgot to say was there was a balancing of masculine and feminine at the very end too. Yeah, that I saw. So that could have been the two.
It's not so much what I felt then, but now I feel sort of what you were talking about, but the after effect of the shift in the galactic aspects of the, where there was a great deal of tension, less tension.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Can we speak with Muhammad real quick?
You want to speak with Muhammad?
Yeah.
You want to channel him in?
Yeah, why not?
Sure.
This is one of the advantages of having her around. He's here. I mean, he was channeled here anyway, so go ahead. So can you, for those of us who are here, explain what actually took place in this combining of energy that we did for the first time? How is it different from what we usually do?
You both have separate intentions that you're holding within your divine records. So in this transmission, the intentions of that divine record were combined. What that means is that each of you operating singularly came together to create a unique energetic experience that allowed multidimensional beings to tap into all of those who are also accepting that intention. So all those who accept the intention of operating in this healing were able to receive a multidimensional experience. That multidimensional experience was also multifaceted. There was the removal of density and karma specifically related to collective events that was manifesting as singular within the structure. But also the soul was very affected by that because the way in which the soul receives that information has everything to do with creation. And on the planet in this time, we notice, and this is why this transmission was brought in this time, we notice that many human beings are creating or manifesting based on these dense chords of history. They're interpreting the density as a part of their own singular experience, when really the density is outside of their singular experience as a collective energy. Now, the other side of this coin has to do with the intention of activating the DNA as well as the chakras. The activation of the DNA was more of a transmission in relationship to the 5-strand DNA or the 5th dimension. Many of you are experiencing adjustments in the way that you operate in your singular experience because you're moving between dimensional timelines. There are 3rd dimensional timelines that are still existing as a part of your experience and 5th dimensional timelines. The adjustments that were made within the DNA were to help you to clear and realign the more third dimensional timelines in a way that weren't any longer creating density for you, meaning that they were holding you back in some way from fully accessing or grounding into that fifth dimensional reality. And those are the attunements that were made within the DNA. The chakras were also aligned. The way in which the chakras were aligned were to connect to the grids. We've made a connection to the grids today. You're always connected to the grids, but the connection that we made was specifically through the heart chakra. The reason for this is the way in which you're able to access information from the heart chakra enables you to perceive through your extrasensory tools, assistance, and support. And we believe in this time, as many of you are leveling up those abilities, it's important to reconnect you to those grids to be able to interpret information. We've also attuned the way in which your masculine and feminine energies are harmonized or balanced. Know that the way in which this is the only one facet of this this energetic transmission that we would say is important for you to remember, because that harmonization of masculine and feminine is only as good as your free will or consciousness allows. The way in which you perceive those female energies in your own experience has everything to do with the way that they remain in balance for you to stay within that fifth dimensional speed of creation. So think of this transmission today as being supportive of the entire collective, because the information that was removed was not just density on your behalf, but was also timeline energy of many of these, what we'll call difficult experiences that have taken place here on your planet. In addition to that, you are also activated today to create differently, to align information, and to come to more integrative energies in your own experiences through this transmission.
Just so I understand correctly, you said something about not creating more density. Does that mean that the individuals who participated are not going to be creating more density going forward?
It was our intention to align timeline energy differently so that they could walk through the experience with a new perception. This new perception will allow them to not create density around third dimensional timelines that still exist.
But they were before able to create density.
Human beings are always able to create density. It is a part of your reality, so it is not something that would ever change.
I see. So relative to that, I'm trying to comprehend here so what is the shift that occurred then? What do you mean that they're not creating density going forward?
There are multiple shifts that have occurred. These transmissions are very similar to what has been spoken of previously as an opportunity. As you participate within them, there are energetic adjustments made within the structure. Those energetic adjustments allow you to perceive reality differently. These adjustments were made in the chakras, in the DNA, and in the level of density or karma being held by these individuals. So as they go about their singular experience, they're able to look at what is in front of them, whether they be choices, opportunities, experiences that are out of perhaps their human control, in a different consciousness. So our goal today was to minimize the amount of density created during a very difficult timeline split on your planet, where there is much karmic density coming to the surface that is collective.
So I may be out of a job?
Mohammed says that is not possible, for your divine record holds this intention and will continue to hold this intention through this linear experience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's got a sense of humor too. Anybody else have any questions or anything you want to talk about?
Anything planetary, singular, anything.
Any questions about anything? Yeah, what's up? Yeah.
This reptilian energy, which kind of lowers the vibration of the whole human race and the fear. Can that be also transmitted?
I believe that it can.
That seems to be the reason why we are stuck in the third 3D.
Well, I think there's a difference between having a reptilian type of attachment and singular and this collective drama we have going on with the reptilians. Because, well, first let me just back up for those of you who don't understand this reptilian energy. There's a reptilian consciousness that exists here on the earth. It is a consciousness, it is non-physical. I believe it came to our earth during a very cataclysmic event and exists here because it is not able to create in its own structure. So it is using our structure to create. through our emotional bodies. So our emotional bodies are manipulated. We are manipulated to be in singular focus, and that takes us away from a collective structure, which is more empowering and they're not able to tap into, okay? So this reptilian consciousness that you speak of, when you're removing density and karma, what's great about that is that you're also probably getting rid of a lot of that fear vibration. You know, his energy transfer will raise your vibration to a new level. This reptilian consciousness must have a lower vibration that's physical to access you or others, right? So the more you raise your vibration, the more you're immune to what's going on with that reptilian consciousness and how they can access your structure. But I do believe that there are some singular beings on the planet that are, we'll put this in two different ways. I think there are some that have a reptilian DNA connection. We all have reptilian DNA. We all have Pleiadian DNA, right? But some of us are more focused in that DNA. Like, I believe there are areas of our life or times in our life when certain beings are meant to be in our awareness or connect with us for information. And so that reptilian gene can be turned on very easily because of the close proximity of this reptilian consciousness. So there are people on the planet who are activated in their reptilian DNA, and we probably know who some of those people are. They're doing things on the planet that aren't really the best things for us. There are other people who are in such a state of fear that that reptilian consciousness can easily access their DNA, right? And that's a whole different thing. But, you know, the vibration, raising the vibration, again, can be a huge source. I mean, really, literally, if we just continue to raise the vibration of the collective on the planet, and I already believe it's happening, that reptilian consciousness is completely being dismantled because it relies on a singular structure in a hierarchy, you know, and that hierarchy can be quite simply, I'm not good enough. It can be, I don't have enough money, or people have more money than me. It can be government. It can be a lot of different things. We can see them all over. But a singular structure in a hierarchy is very vulnerable to what this reptilian consciousness can create through them, right? But we're moving away from that. And I think as we've raised our vibration and our consciousness as a collective, we find ourselves in a position where this dismantling is already taking place. And if you look around, you can see it. I think this is a positive, you know. And I'll bring in another aspect of this that is more collective, but I was told, and I truly believe, because the guides were talking about this like months ago, they said here on the planet, all humans are going to be raised in their vibration the same, to vibrate collectively in the same speed. And that's kind of hard to believe because we think, well, I can't be vibrating the same as that guy down the street who's a real jerk, you know. But just because that guy's a real jerk doesn't mean that he's not vibrating the same speed. He's just using that speed differently through his consciousness, right? It's a whole consciousness thing now. But think of the way we create. We create everything energetically first, right? Energy becomes physical. And so if we're all vibrating at the same speed, that's the first level of dismantling hierarchies in our energy. And that's what I've been told we're at right now. And I think that's why we're having such a hard adjustment, because we are all vibrating the same and we're all picking up on more of our collective energy, planetarily, timeline energy. I think it's a positive, but I don't want to say it's a negative. I think that it's hard because we don't know how to operate in that technology. We're not used to that. So we're having a lot of road bumps right now, learning how to operate in this one speed. But I think overall it's a positive because that's the first energetic step in breaking down hierarchies. You know, we're all the same speed now. We might look different. We might interpret our consciousness differently, right? We might live differently. But vibrationally, we're coming into more of a harmonic balance, which means this reptilian consciousness isn't going to be able to access us the same way they have before. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Anyone else?
I'm just curious, how long were we doing the transfer for?
I didn't time it. Probably 10 minutes, I would guess. I would think. It felt, yeah.
Oh.
I don't know, you were...
I was just observing. I never time it. I clock my phone is off because I have people that always want to weigh in. So.
Yeah, based on the music, it was about 10 minutes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Question?
So when you were talking about people getting into that same vibration, does that then correlate to
increasing numbers of people who seem to be able to hear the vibration, whether it's galactic vibrations that they are hearing.
Yeah, you mean hearing in the non-physical?
Talking about clairaudience or something, or is it you're hearing a sound or something?
Right.
Oh, mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Drone.
Yeah. Oh, and I've heard that too at times. I've heard just flips and tones and stuff all of the time. I think that again, we're activating our multidimensional gifts, and because the vibration has raised of the planet, but also remember we've got more multidimensional beings coming in than ever before. So if you go back to the general message that the council brought in, we have more multidimensional beings here on the planet assisting us than ever before. And because of that, I think we're picking up on more of that stuff. You know, it's like vibration raising upon vibration. So we're moving really fast. So yeah, I believe so. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Do you think that we're advancing and awakening and becoming more connected fast enough to see in our lifetime a way that the government and the pharmaceuticals and all that are going to have to change because we're aware that there maybe even have been cancer and things like that, but those people have been pushed down and not heard because they're so strong. Do you think that will change because of what's happening in our lifetime?
Yeah, well, it's changing already, and I can give you a personal example. So I work with people to help them develop their spiritual gifts and put them out into the world, right? And I just had a number of people who just joined my Lightworker program where I help them do that, and they're emergency room doctors, they are professional traders, people from the financial industry, they are who else? They are nurses, people of that background. I mean, people of very conventional backgrounds are suddenly waking up and realizing that they have spiritual gifts that are very extraordinary. I mean, not just average. Oh, somebody else who's a geneticist, she used to sequence DNA for biotech companies. So these are individuals who who are from fields of work that are very mainstream, very conventional. They're all individuals who work in very high-level positions in these companies, who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and yet they're leaving all that behind. So that should, kind of give you an idea of what's happening behind the scenes. You don't see it because, well, those people aren't talking out in the open, right? But it's happening everywhere, and it's happening to everyday people. It's just kind of behind the curtain at the moment. But what's going to happen is 10, 20 years, all of those individuals are going to come out to the forefront, and it's going to radically alter our society and our reality. It is happening now. It's just happening. You have to look, and you have to, as your vibration raises through events like this, you're going to start being drawn to and attracted to people like that, and they're going to be drawn to you. So this is the reason why we're surrounded by, people like this, like Micheila and Barb and all of you guys. It's because we are at a vibration where that's what we draw into our reality. So our reality is very different from a mainstream reality. And the same can be true for all of you. And that's what's going to happen to you, is you're going to find that your reality starts to shift and you start to become more aware of the kind of world that you want to live in. Because for me, speaking for myself, this is my world. This is my everyday life now. I don't even really have to interact with the regular world very much anymore. And that's, more and more people will start to experience that until we all kind of shift over. But it is happening very fast. And it is happening on a governmental level too. Now, I don't have anybody who's from the government, but who's come forth, but certainly I'm sure it's occurring there as well, even though we're not aware of it.
Because it's sad that there are cures out there, but it's being controlled, and they're being controlled by the pharmaceuticals that want to make money. So I just can't wait until that all goes away. And
well, okay. Do you want to say something? I don't want to interrupt you. Well, we as human beings came into this reality to experience variety. We didn't come here to be limited. And so every human incarnation is focused slightly differently. And some people may want to experience what it's like to take pharmaceutical drugs, and so that option is available to them. But for those of you who know different, there are other options available to you. One of the individuals that I'm working with, she's doing psychic surgery. So, and very successfully too. So that kind of thing is possible too. And it's available to those of you who have chosen that kind of an option. But we don't necessarily want to take away the option from people who want to take pharmaceutical drugs, because that's just where their awareness is right now, and that's perfectly all right for them, even if it may not be the best option. So all those varieties exist of different kinds of things that we can interact with in our society because we chose to have those options to choose between and to discern what we want and don't want in our reality. So when you choose to live in a reality where those things don't exist, then that is the reality that will exist. So it's actually all in your power. So if you want to live in a world where pharmaceutical companies don't make drugs that hurt people, then stop living in that reality. And it's not a conscious choice. I'm sort of saying that jokingly. You can't just stop being in that reality. But what's going to happen is as your vibration raises, you're going to stop living in that reality.
It's a vibrational thing. And I mean, I was just at a family party last night, and my family's not, in this conversation at all. And the topics of conversation were Bitcoin, conspiracy theory. And I was like, where am I? I was checking, it's my sister's house. But it's a vibrational thing, and we manifest everything, and we forget this. Even our monetary system is physical because we manifested it. Our monetary system exists because we manifested it. Hospitals exist because we defined hospitals, we manifested them, and they're physical, and they're defined that way because our consciousness brought that in. But our consciousness is bringing new things in too. So it's just like that. We're in this wonky time, I think, between the shift of consciousness going in the direction where some of those more alternative things can be more mainstream. And I think that shift is going to take place, where some of those mainstream medical, options will still be on the planet, but we're going to see this just huge shift in all of these alternative things because they match our vibration and we're magnetically attracting them. And the guides even say this about disclosure. We're all about, we want disclosure when they're going to tell us the truth. Well, we pull all of our history forward and it presents itself because of how we vibrate. We match that history. So we match those announcements. It's not about holding people responsible and trying to force something. It's like we have to be the people that match those timelines and those realities for them to appear. And that's what I think we're in the midst of. But I do believe it's just going to be a gradual progression to that other side, the more that we're, conscious and activating ourselves and stuff.
There's just one thing that I want to speak to you regarding the collective and singular that was really, really helpful to me today. That especially lately, I've been getting these things and I cannot go out during the day or whatever, not interact or even be thinking about anything. And some things will come through and I'm like, I thought I dealt with that. I thought this was gone. And what you said about the collective, and it seems like I keep getting, it's going through your filter. It's going through your filter. So now it gave me it alleviated some of that, saying, because I'm thinking it's mine, which some of it is, I'm sure, but some of it, I'm like, this is not making sense, So that one piece right there is just really, really helpful to me.
Yeah, the beings that I work with, they operate in a collective, and it's an interesting concept because we're not ready to do that yet here, because it's a love-based frequency where they can speak as one because they speak on behalf of all, right? Nobody in this room could speak on behalf of me. They don't know who I am or, what my inner core holds. But those beings that operate in a collective, they're in such a high love frequency that they can speak on behalf of all. They can make decisions on behalf of all because it benefits everyone in that collective. And that's kind of like what we're trickling into, we're not even close to being there yet, but that's kind of the energy we're working into. It's like taking it on behalf of all, walking through it on behalf of all, you know? And that's where I think some of those feelings are coming up, you know? We're also integrating information really fast, you know, timeline stuff. It's I've seen this with my clients too. If you're presented right now with a lot of paths or a lot of opportunities and you don't know what to pick, just pick one and go that direction. Use your gut, use your best judgment, because it's all funneling together. Like, we're used to seeing things so singular, like I have to pick this, or I have to pick this, or I have to pick this. But we don't realize that information is coming up to collaborate with us. So if we start to move our energy towards something, it's all going to kind of collapse on each other and start to show us a new path that's maybe bigger than what our consciousness could interpret. So that's what I'm seeing a lot with my clients too. It's like they're getting so frustrated because I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. I don't know. What do I do? Like, just do something and it'll all come together. And that's usually what happens right now. That's collective too. It's just a different way of operating.
What did you used to do for a living? I forget.
I was a chief financial officer.
She has a multidimensional art exhibit at the expo this year. So it's, you want to talk about what?
Yeah, I've been back doing art. I've had kind of some life shifts, as we were talking about, in the last few years. And for the last 5 years, I've been back doing a passion of mine when I was a young child, which was art. And that really is who I am. So I'm revisiting it, and it's coming through that this energy that's going on the canvas, and I've noticed this in the past, I'd say 3 years, is going as this structure on the canvas to support either the individual or the collective if it is, not specific. But I'm still coming into this. But it almost seems like it's people's higher self talking to them as a reminder. This, I know you're doing this over here, but look at maybe something like this on this canvas, or a focal point or something, and then talking to some of this DNA stuff. I don't even know how to talk to this, but there's stuff coming through, and it's just coming through on canvas. And I'm like, I know there's something there. I can't explain it, but it's there. So it's pretty exciting, and it's a lot more exciting than being a CFO.
So there's an example right there, right? But her art exhibit at the expo specifically is more general. She makes art for individuals as well, that she was talking about. But the exhibit art show is really designed to shift your multidimensional DNA. So we have a whole room full of this art, and you can just go in there and immerse yourself in it. It's free to the public, so you can just come experience that for yourself if you would like. And that'll be there all weekend. Anyone else have any questions? Yeah.
How this shift is going to affect the animals' conscience?
Affect animals? Just animals in general, you mean? All animals.
General.
Okay. You want to channel that?
Well, I can. I've actually had this question before from other people, but I think that it's the same way. Animals on the planet, they're part of this collective, but we've seen them very singularly, and we've treated them such that they're separate of us and singular of us. And as we come together more as a one collective, I think the animals are going to truly benefit. And I've actually channeled that we're going to bring back new species of animals that didn't exist here before, because like the same way we bring back all these technologies from Atlantis and all over the place, there are species of animals that have not survived on this planet that are going to be coming back. But again, they're a part of this collective, and the more we vibrate in alignment with that, higher consciousness, just like that collective up there, they're in a love frequency. Everyone gets exactly what they need, and it's for the benefit of all. It's for the benefit of them as well. So I think that animals are going to benefit from this the same way that humans will.
Anyone else? Okay, well, we're right about time, so thank you all for coming. It's been a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.